At Midway USA, we put customers first. The Nitro Express shipping system is icing on the cake. It was a big investment of time and money to take super fast, low-cost shipping to a whole new level. The Nitro Express helps ensure same-day shipping and low shipping cost. We hope you enjoy the Nitro Express. We built it just for you. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to MidwayUSA.com. I'm Larry Potterfield with Midway USA. Thanks for your business.
Gear up for the hunt and learn from the best with Deer and Deer Hunting Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Tune in every week for expert hunting tips and unforgettable moments in the field. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.
Just be sitting up there jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like, I love getting close and putting a...
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like,
we call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bowls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
Yeah, I've been getting better at editing these things too. So if it gets a little scratchy or fuzzy, it's all good. But awesome. I see behind you got my favorite critter on the planet. It's a mule deer.
Absolutely, my favorite.
So maybe right for the get-go, because we haven't had you on the show already, Steve, maybe just give yourself a quick introduction and just and then we'll dive into mule deer. We'll get into kind of, when your infatuation for mule deer started and stuff like that. But just right off the get-go, just plug yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name's Steve Rodgers. I'm kind of born and raised in Kamloops here. Actually grew up in the coast, moved to Kamloops. Kind of started hunting a little later in my life. I kind of went hunting with my uncles when I was probably 14, 15. Kind of got my first introduction to cruising around logging roads in BC, kind of how most guys get started. Yeah, when I was about 18, 19, I kind of got my core and picked up my firearms license, and me and my buddy went out and kind of learned all by ourselves. So, and I kind of like to think I've evolved as a hunter. Started off kind of looking for anything with bone, fill the freezer up, and kind of evolved from there.
You and I connected because your Instagram's Muley Crazies, and I'm a bit of a muley nut myself. I know the people listening right to here today, they've heard this story a million times, but I grew up in the northern part of the province, so I didn't really get, we had blacktail up there and spent a lot of time on the Charlottes, or Haida now, I guess, but so chased blacktail a lot, moosehead and all that stuff. But then when I moved down here, for the first time, you start, you get in the backcountry and you start getting a chance to watch and see a lot more, and the opportunity to hunt mule deer, I just fell in love with. Not the bigger class mule deer is definitely what I like to chase. At the beginning, definitely, I think my first one was just a 4x2 I got, but I was happier than a pig and shit to get that guy. But and then just kind of grew the same as you, just kind of grew into loving the mule deer.
Yeah, kind of same thing. Yeah, I right off the bat, mule deer have always kind of been my passion. Grew up in Kamloops, that's kind of our number one critter around here, right? Of course, got moose and whitetail and all kinds of other animals, but muleys kind of started it all, and I've slowly kind of, reached out to goat and elk and all the other fun critters, more adventures across the province, but muleys are definitely my number one. They get all my attention. No doubt.
So how did it start for you? Like when you started hunting mule deer, obviously, I'm sure you're the same as me. You said you started a little later, and like you said, you were putting meat in the freezer, but then it grew into more, like it evolved into more of a bone hunter, so to speak.
Yep.
How was that evolution? Like, did you struggle at first? Because I know I did. I know from when I went to becoming like just happier and, just happy to cut that mule deer tag for the first time, to actually getting into, looking for and targeting big muley bucks, man, it was something else. It was tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and I had kind of a halfway transition. So I'd wait till October. I go in October and there's deer everywhere. Back in the day around Kamloops, you hit a logging block in the first light, you go sit in the dark, it come out, you got, 5 to 10 bucks, bunch of does, and you can watch them anywhere you around here, you can find a buck. And so I'd get out, shoot a buck the first week of October, and then I'd be done. So I'm okay, well, this is getting kind of easy. Let's go and look for some 4-point. So I go in the summer and scout a bit, and then the same about 3 years in a row, about 8 years into my hunting career, I'd shoot a buck on opening weekend, a 4-point, like a 120 class box, something with some bone, and get excited. But then same story, hunting season's over, first weekend, and I got 2 months now, and I'm playing guide and chasing whiteys or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
And then I back in the day, you'd go rent hunting videos and get magazines, and I'd see all these huge bucks, and then I'm like, you know what, like I got to hold out. they're out there, and I'd see them. I'd see, I got stories from my first few years where I'd see, some huge bucks, bump a road or something. I'm like, oh, they're gone. Keep driving, go look for the next deer kind of thing, right? And I realized if I put a little bit of time in and held out, I could get onto some bigger deer, and with a little bit of research and effort. And it's getting harder than it used to be, but they're out there.
It definitely is. I feel in the last couple years, it's gotten, since everybody's wanted, like the grip and grin Instagram, since that all became really really famous, I found that it's definitely harder to find those big ones. And like, even I remember like myself going into the backcountry, and like for the first couple, for the first while, you kind of had it all to yourself. But then, as things progress, gear gets better, guys start watching YouTube video, all of a sudden, those places you hadn't held to yourself, you don't get them all to yourself anymore.
You got her. They're few and far between. We found some little holes. Definitely can still find them in the problem, but it's tough. Yeah, you're right. They're everywhere, anywhere, and someone, and especially nowadays with all the with the internet and stuff. Someone posts a picture and someone leaves one location on. That's it. That area is. It's hit hard. Yeah,
and especially like accessibility with all these online maps and stuff. Like Onyx and everything else. Man, it definitely makes things. It definitely makes things easier for scouting, e-scouting and stuff. I don't know if you dive into a lot of e-scouting, but it's funny you talked about holding out there, and that's the biggest thing I found was like moving from going from like you said, 120, 140 to get into those bigger bucks, is holding out for that, because it's still, you see a nice 4x4. And you're like, man, that's a good looking buck, right? Like, and muleys are notorious too, because like when you see a muley, they always look big. Like when they're sitting in the skyline, they got some light on them. You're like, man, that's a good big buck, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it definitely. I found, thinking back, like that was the hardest part was not pulling the trigger on those, the small to mid size in order to wait for a bigger one.
100%. And then the other side of it too is sometimes it's the situation. You get and I always use like a 130, 140 class as an example. That's when they just start to get a little bit of frame on them. You get a buck walking away from you. You get them end of October, early November. Their bodies just swelled up. Man, do they look impressive? It gets your blood going. You got to hold back and just try not to go. I'm a pretty excitable guy. I get buck fever. My buddies call me Speven, kind of because I spaz. They call me Speven. It is. I lose it. I'll never lose it. I don't think. And I think it's a good thing. Yeah, but I've definitely shot some bucks that I probably, on another day may not have shot. If I had a little more time to relax and kind of just, okay, I'm gonna let this guy go. Yeah. But for the most part, I'm getting better with it. It's learning to control myself and just take that even 20, 30 seconds. It's that first initial catch your breath. Just take it in, enjoy what you're looking at, and then make a decision on what you want to do. Right. So.
Yeah, it's tough. You definitely, like you said, you got to get over that initial first, like, okay, that's a good buck, and then just give it time. Be like, okay, well, here, let me have another look. Let him move his head a bit. Let's look from another angle, because some angles, doesn't matter what he is, they all look big. That's the thing about mule deer. So, yeah, that's funny. So, how much summer scouting do you do?
So I do quite a bit. I started shed hunting 10 years ago. That was the start. That was kind of where I went, okay, I can get out in the spring, March and April. And that's when it begins. So if, I'm March till December now, that's my hunting season. And, I get out in the spring, do a lot of shed hunting. And then now with my trail cams kind of go hand in hand. A lot of my cameras are in the same areas where I do my shed hunting. and that's it. That's like a full-time scouting job now. Like we got 30 cameras out. A lot of our cameras are, some of them are close to the road. Some of them are, 3 to 10 kilometers in. So by the time you get all the cameras set, it takes 2-3 months, and then you need 2-3 months to go back and check them. So you got a 6-month scouting season, right? So, but it's worth it. My 3 biggest deer in the last 5 years, I either had on camera or saw scouting. So,
is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's, it's kind of what we call it, the quan, to be able to find something and then go find it again. So to have that's it's pretty rewarding. They are all pretty hard hunts, but yeah, they're memorable, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And I find too, like running, like trail camera use in general. I mean, like 10 years ago, man, like, like trail cameras were like, I don't even remember if there were trail cameras back then. If there was, they're probably, the size of a telephone booth. But
they were, double. You had those D batteries that would last a week. So you weren't leaving cameras out for months. That's for sure.
Yeah. You find like are you able to pattern those mule deers? You mentioned you get them on, you've been getting them on. So you get a good buck on your trail camera early.
Yep.
You're able to pattern them consistently.
Well, this is where it's been tough. We've never been great on patterning them. We find the most patterned mule deer we've got is every 2 to 3 weeks. We'll get a deer, and so we like using the water softener salt. It seems to be a game changer for us. Okay. And I find all it does, it creates a good lick, and it just makes them stand by the camera longer. So they're not just going to walk by one. They're going to sit there for 5-10 minutes, have a sniff, have a lick, kind of give you a few pictures. But yeah, they're once twice a month they'll show up. And for us, they disappear usually in August. They kind of disappear off our cameras. Okay. And we used to get worried and thought they were leaving, but then we get them on camera November, December through the winter. So, so kind of the areas you've been hunting, been not so much transitional. They're kind of hanging out around that 1,400 meters kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. And they're pretty habitual. It's pretty neat to have an animal we're hunting that's not leaving, so you don't have to watch the season and catch them early or late. They kind of just live there. So it's been kind of a neat way to hunt the last couple of years. So
yeah, you definitely. I imagine you probably learn a lot about specific mule deer, but just mule deer in general. When you're running that many cameras, like I run a fair amount of cameras, but I'm not running them. I run some cameras for elk. I have whitetail, bear. Bear's a tough one. Those bears, they get on your camera. They like to eat the shit out of it.
Oh, I've lost a lot of cameras to bears.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Those critters are pretty destructive. But yeah, I found like getting a mule deer on camera, you maybe get them once or twice, but that's it. And like I've had, I've gone up there in the snow and I've been like, man, like you're tracking, like you can tell there's a mule deer, but he just, for some reason, he doesn't want to walk in front of the camera. He just wants to walk behind the camera. You're like, you dirty dog. Like, I wonder who that is. You almost need 2 cameras, one facing each direction. It's almost like they know. Oh,
they know for sure. And that's the other thing we're learning too, is that you can put 4 cameras within, 500 yards of each other, and they all get different deer. It's bizarre. So you don't really get a true idea of what's on the mountain when you have your cameras. You're just getting a glimpse. So we've learned not to get discouraged as well. You put a camera up with high hopes, you get nothing on there. But that same mountain, when you're out looking at it, you're seeing bucks. So they're there. Yeah. They're just not finding your camera for whatever reason. They don't like the placement or so.
Yeah. So I know we were talking before, and you're heading out for a hunt here pretty quick, eh?
Yeah. I got just four quick days off here, just to do some local hunting, and then I got 7 days off coming up next week. So
right. So when you're hunting deer, like this is, I guess you're targeting the rut. That's your Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your rut hunt. So you're getting out, you're getting high, you're glassing. Kind of what area, what sort of topography you're looking at, what kind of hillsides you're looking for, or are you just, you're just going out covering as much ground as you can?
Yeah, we kind of got a mixed bag of hunting we do. So I like open country. I really like hunting the burns. It's becoming a little too popular nowadays. And there's lots of them.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So and not every burn's great. Some of these burns, they take all the vegetation gone, they open them up, and the animals move on. But there's some pretty good hunting in the burns where you can sit all day and glass deer. Let your glass do the work rather than your legs. So I like to do a lot of that. We've just really been pounding timbers actually the last 3 or 4 years, and it's A lot harder hunting. It's definitely different. We'll spend 3 or 4 days on a timber ridge, and we'll see a handful of deer. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's discouraging. It's hard mentally when you're used to going out and seeing 20, 30, even 100 deer in a good area a day. So I like to mix it up. I'll go 2 or 3 days timber hunting. I'm like, I need some action. So I go to some of my spots where I know I'm going to be seeing young bucks and deer, and during the rut, there's big bucks, I believe, on every mountain. That's my honest belief. I think every mountain's got a king of the mountain somewhere. It's just whether or not you get to connect on them and get lucky, right? And November is the best time to make it happen. So
yeah, for sure. I find the best time, like, I spent a lot of time when I was strictly rifle hunting. I'd get into a lot different places. Now that I just bow hunt, I was getting into like the higher elevation stuff early on. And you get them to that high alpine and places, if they got steep grade, north facing slopes, some water, vegetation, those are all the ingredients that they need. So it's only a matter of time till you're gonna come across one. But it's a tough game playing that game. It's a lot of glassing, it's a lot of sitting, it's a lot of waiting. And man, I remember being up in some of those mountaintops for 4 or 5 days, just hoping a buck was going to cross into a small clearing, and it just never happened. But man, is it nice when it does. Now I find, I'm hunting more the valley bucks and the bottom bucks, just because I'm hunting with a bow. So I don't spend as much time, definitely not as much time as I used to getting into that thick timber. Just because with a bow, I mean, even shooting and that stuff, it's just hard to find a lane.
It is tough, even with a rifle, never mind a bow. So I have my hats off to you guys bow hunting, both muleys, and some guys are so good at it. I don't get it. Some guys can, I got a few guys I know that bow hunt muleys, and they do pretty good. And I get close to them, but to be consistent with the bow is pretty impressive.
So what type of things are you looking for when you're hunting in this I guess the thicker stuff? What type of trees? What type, are you looking for deciduous stuff? Looking for a lot of grassy area?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm finding that I've been learning, in my years of hunting, is that every area is different. I'll learn an area and think I have mule deer figured out. And I go to a new area, I'm like, this is it. Fred Bear had a quote. He's like, go where the deer are, not where you want them to be. Right. Yeah. So we're hunting now. You get these big open fir timbers and they're beauty. And you go in there, I'll see a handful of does, but no buck sign. And then I get into these timber ridges that are just full of deadfall, the gross, and they're full of sheds. There's bucks everywhere. And they're living in that because they hear you coming. Yeah. Right. They can hear you coming. They bed down in there. And it's been tough. Like we get these deer in our cameras, and probably the 5 biggest deer we have in our cameras, they've been consistent. We've never ever laid eyes on one of them. So
never seen them on the hoof, just in the camera.
Never, just on cameras. So, and but they're worth chasing. We got a couple big deer that we're, oh man, if we can get that picture, it's going to be it's going to be well worth the work we've put in over the last 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, for sure. So how long, like, you see a buck, if you see a good buck, is that going to be your target buck for the year, like on your camera, or are you just you still doing the same thing? You just covering ground, just hoping to see it on the hoof?
Well, and this is the mental game. So, you get one good buck on camera. We had one last year. He showed up once, and he showed up early. He was not finished growing. He had probably 14 countable points. Like, this is a big buck. And he showed up once, and he's going, and we was pretty sure he was headed up to the high country. So we're like, what do we do? Where is he? Was he moving through? Is he, so we went up top, looked for him, and we spent a lot of time last year, and we didn't see anything. We didn't even see any game. So we don't know if that deer was just, he could have moved from miles away and just was passing through, right? So it's tough as far as trail camming goes. You get one picture, it's hard to want to chase that deer, not knowing if he's sticking around, right?
Yeah, just off one picture, it's definitely tough. That's why I find running trail cameras, trying to figure mule deer out. I mean, but that's kind of the lure to mule deer, is they're just so cagey and just so, like, they're unpredictable. That's one of the things I love about chasing them. But I know up in your region there, man, you guys get some toads up there. So
yeah, and we got some stories over the last 10 years, just the ones that got away kind of thing, right? And they're all November. We've seen a couple of early season bucks that got away, but it's that late season. You see them working a ridge, and you're like, did you just see what I just saw? And then that's it. All of a sudden for the next week we drop everything. It's like a new area we've never been to. We just went for a cruise. You see something on a ridge line, and then you're hunting them. That's the rut. That's exciting because These deer come out of the woodworks that are, living their timbers their whole lives, and just that rut hits, the ladies get moving and they're out.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and that's why I do mix it up. We'll chase these big bucks. We'll spend, 4 or 5 days chasing deer, and then we need to mix it up. We need to go get some action and go on a different mountain. And sometimes that's the game changer. You go mix it up, and you end up running into something big, and
yeah,
that's what happens. Right?
Do you guys focus on does when if you're just cruising out? I know a lot of guys, they're like, well, I'm seeing a lot of does, but I'm just not seeing the bucks. Yeah,
absolutely. We definitely target does. We look for does for sure. But we get the same thing. We'll get down low and we'll see does and 2 points, and like, where's the big bucks? And then when we see that, we try to go high. And what we find is that when you do go really high in those cases, you usually get on some more deer, and there's usually some does up top. And then the bigger bucks, there's just no reason for them to drop if they got something up top, right?
Yeah, if there's something cruising around. And I think that's one of the things that everybody sees, and everybody's like, man, there's just no big bucks around anymore, because you're seeing all these does down low. But you got to remember that some of these does, they got a fawn with them still, a really young fawn from this year. So there's definitely a lot of variables, and like, unfortunately, we all wish we could breed as many females as we want, but it just doesn't happen, right? You're not gonna, one buck's not gonna come down and breed 30 females. I mean, so yeah, they definitely do. You find the does, find them, but you got to also remember too that, just because there's a lot of does down low doesn't mean that there's a lot of does, or there's not some does still left up high. So that's a good point for sure.
Exactly. And then the one year we found there, we got one of those early snowfalls. It was early November, probably about 6 years ago, talking like 3 feet of snow. And we got a whole bunch of action early November. And then all the tracks, they all left. They all went up high, like all the buck tracks. It's like the bucks came down, did a little bit of work, and they're like, no, we're heading back. And they were all moving back to the high country in that deep snow. So you kind of got to, put some boots to the ground is important, but it's also good to cruise roads and just see, look for tracks, transitional areas where the deer are moving up and down, and just see where they're going, and then get back to wherever you think they're going to be hanging out, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because no matter what time of the year you're looking for, no matter what the elevation is or what the weather's doing, come the rut, those bucks are doing, they got one thing on their mind, and it, they're not really thinking, oh, the snow's too deep. But I know, like, if you're targeting bigger bucks, that's the key, is you got to get up a little higher. They like to be where they feel safe. They like to be in that thick, nasty, just rugged stuff.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. Like I said, I don't chase them as much as I used to this time of the year, just because it's just, you get in that thick stuff, and with that snow, and you got a stick and string in your hand, it's hard to get a lane.
Well, and it's noisy. Like, you get that crunchy snow, man, and it's tough. I like snow. Sure. You like to be able to track deer, but when you start pushing timbers, that's why I like the open stuff. You can kind of get it with the rifle. It's kind of nice, right? You can glass. You can still keep your distance. They feel a little safe. The does aren't spooky. Bucks with a doe too, he won't leave. If you can keep her safe, he'll stick around. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's one thing too, is like, those bucks, they put themselves in places where they know that they're safe. That's why they like that, those areas that are thick and rugged and nasty, because they can hear really well. They can see, anything going in there, any predator going in there, it's going to be making noise, right? So that it's like, fresh snow is not bad for moving around, but man, you get some snow and then it freezes, man, good luck.
Yeah, no, it's crunchy, it's noisy. Every step you're just going, man, how am I going to find something here, right?
Yeah. But, so do you guys focus on fresh water at all in this time of the year?
I've never really paid attention to water sources. I it's probably something good to think about too, because deer still got to eat too, food and water. Yeah. Everyone concentrates on just trying to find the does, find the bucks, but when it's cold out, they got to eat. They got to survive, right? Even in the rut. So definitely good to find food sources and water sources for absolutely.
What kind of work are you guys doing? Like, are you guys doing any work in September, I should say?
Well, this has been my challenge, is that, watching you guys and listening to you guys all this elk hunting gets me pretty pumped, and I'm stepping away from my muleys, and it's hard. I got this passion for mule deer, and I did a caribou hunt a couple years ago. I did a bunch of elk hunting this year, and I love it. It's fun, but man, my mind is still going. I got that buck on camera. He was on camera August 31st, and I'm not going to see him till October. I'm like, what am I doing? I should be chasing him. You know what I mean? And in the past, we have stayed back, but I find you got a good a good week of September. That first week's really good, 10th to 20th. And then it's tough. Like the odds just go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather be chasing elk and trying to fill the freezer or something else and get back to muleys when it's later. But
yeah, for those rutting muleys for sure. I found like, the early season, like that September 1st is really good because they're going to be doing, like, you can watch in middle of August, which is nice because they're going to be doing the same thing in middle of August that they're going to be doing September 1st. And they're kind of really easy. They're not going to be out during the day, but if there's a food source, man, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to see them right before dark. So the only thing is, when it's that dry, again, you got a lot of chance of getting busted just because everything's so crunchy, so dry, so dirty. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's not a lot of water around. There's not a lot of places that they're going to go where they're going to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
during the day,
especially
anyway.
A big buck.
Yeah, especially a big buck. But like that's one thing you kind of have to sacrifice in that. Like I've never seen big quality bucks down a little lower, like mid-valley bucks or like these bottom bucks. Never seen, other than these ones floating around town here, but you never see the high quality, the high caliber bucks in those two ranges as you do the high alpine bucks.
100%. Yeah, alpines get tougher though. I think these deer are getting smart. Predators. There's lots of wolves around the province, and our trail cameras tell us that there's deer there. But you go out in the alpine and we glass sometimes in the summer, and we're not even seeing the deer in the middle of the summer anymore. So,
really?
But they're there. They're feeding at night. They're right in the timberline coming out. So I think they're just getting a little smarter, which makes them hard to hunt. Because that alpine, man, it's fun when you can get in the alpine and glass deer in the alpine. That's pretty much as good as it gets. But
yeah, for sure. But that's the thing. I mean, exactly what to your point there. If they're not coming out for you to look at them.
Yeah, you're just staring at trees and enjoying the sunshine, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've definitely noticed, with all the logging, a lot of clear cuts, these forest fires too, clearing, burning a lot of stuff that, towards the end there, I wasn't seeing them, definitely not seeing them nearly as much as I was at the beginning. It was kind of like when I first started getting into that high stuff, it was like, man, you could go out and, you find a spot that holds meat there, and it's like, bang, there's going to be mule deer there every time because there's everything they need. But then you start getting more forest fires, more predators moving into areas that aren't burned. They start congregating to these thicker areas that the mule deer, they seem to stay hidden for sure. They like to be in areas where they're not vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a buddy as part of a collaring project down in Lytton, and they collared some deer down there. And it was really interesting. They had a doe that would move down from the Fraser up to the high country, and she would avoid every cut block. She hit the timberline, and she never ever exposed herself. A doe.
Really?
And it kind of was like an interesting lesson to go, what are these deer doing? Like that deer's adapted to something spooked her at some point for whatever reason. And she's just completely changed her habits. And that's an unhuntable deer, in my opinion, almost, right? A deer that never exposes itself. It makes it a really tough animal to hunt.
And that's a good point because, you think of that and like, that's just one instant, a lot of these deer, a lot of these bucks, especially a lot of the bucks that do spend a lot of time up in that high alpine, I mean, they can be experiencing the same thing, right? Whether it's getting shot at once or twice, or just being vulnerable, being out in the open. Pretty much you're exposed to everything. You're exposed to wolves, bears, everything. So
absolutely.
Right on, man. So what kind of hunt you doing on your second trip? It's gonna be a bigger one.
Yeah, well, I kind of got two hunts planned. We're kind of got an area where we can hunt some open country and some timbers. So I'm looking forward to the timbers. That's where we got some big bucks on camera. So I'm gonna go poke into there a bit. And the other area we're hunting has been a bit more pressure the last few years, but the big bucks are still there. It's kind of funny sometimes you get these areas and you kind of see a couple wall tents set up down low and you go, oh man, there's guys everywhere. But same thing, you just put a little bit of boots to the ground and they're there. The bucks are still there. They're
not going to go far. And for sure. And you find that a lot of places too, where there's a lot of road access. If you can get off, get your feet dirty a little bit, you're going to find these bucks. They're going to be kind of funneled down into areas where, they're going to stay away from danger, or not necessarily danger, but just the road noise and stuff, the stuff that they don't like. And especially these bigger bucks, if that's what you're targeting, they're definitely not going to be where people are.
Yeah, and then sometimes the roads can be a benefit. You can, you talk about e-scouting. I do a lot of e-scouting. I live on my phone. Yeah, and it's awesome for me, but it's also unfortunately everyone else is doing the same thing. But
Yeah.
we find some big ridges where two roads are parallel in a big ridge, and guys are cruising those roads. Those deer, does, and bucks, they just pile into those ridges. And sometimes you find the pocket. Oh man, there's just so many deer. And everyone's cruising around like, yeah, nothing moving today. I'm like, oh, okay, yep.
Yeah.
I've seen 50 deer in the 2 East today, kind of thing, right? Like they're just pocketed in there. So
yeah. So that's one thing. Is that one thing you guys kind of talk or target when there's a lot of pressure? You guys are just
100%.
focusing
We look on Google Earth and we kind of know, we know where we see deer in the summer. We know where we scout deer. And then we kind of, some of the areas where we know they're transitioning, you just find those pockets where the roads aren't, and the deer are always there. It's like clockwork. They're going to move from the high down low, and you can find an area, there's roads there. You find those spots where like you said, where the deer can hide, and they're usually always in there. So
yeah, for sure. So if you guys are going to an area, like with these forest fires, you guys have been scouting this area. Unfortunately, a forest fire rolled through and it burned up your whole scout. Like it just ruined your whole scouting area. It's all gone. Now you're basically at scratch for the rut. What kind of areas would you be looking for?
Yeah, so that's the thing is I've always I do a lot of scouting. I always got, I'd say 4 to 5 spots at all times, because I just I'm always have a choice to go to, right?
Yeah.
And I like to find a balance. I like deactivated old cut blocks are still in my blood to go hunt those old cut blocks and see what's moving around, right?
Yeah.
As long as I got a good deactivated road or something, I got some spots where I know I can go in there and see some deer. And with the burns, I'll go look at a new burn. The second year after a burn, I'll go in there and have a look. Some of these burns they're pretty nice after a couple of years. They green up quick. As long as they don't go in there and log it all and put too many roads in. But
yeah, for sure. And I find too with the burns, if you're going to work a burn, that's when it's good to check out. Look on whatever app you're running, Onyx or whatever you're running, Google Earth. If you're in an area where you get a lot of sun, like where I am, if it's a south facing slope, it's going to be scorched for it's going to take a long time for to get any vegetation in there.
Oh yeah.
So if you're gonna look for those burns, definitely do a little bit of homework first, because if you're gonna focus on that, it's definitely, I know this one burn, man, it burned in 2013, I think, and it's just finally starting to show some vegetation there, just because it just gets scorched. I mean, you get these 30-degree days that we have, for months on end. It's just, and that's a south facing slope where it's getting sun for pretty much all day. It's going to take a long time for anything to grow back that's going to be beneficial to the deer.
Yeah, and then we've had the opposite where we've had a couple of the burns we hunted that were fantastic, and now they're too thick. You can't hunt them. They're just
right.
Yeah.
It's
some of that, just the north facing, which is great. But the weeds just grew back too tall and too thick, and now it's we don't even see the deer time. I don't think the deer are there either, but it's fine. But
there's kind of that fine line where it sits, right, where it's like, and that's one thing with those burns. Yeah, man. Sometimes they grow in thick. Sometimes they grow in a lot thicker than they were.
Yeah.
So, you definitely got to do your homework there for sure.
The other thing is with those burns is if you can find some live timbers, some big drainages coming out with some live timbers mixed in with the burn. I find it's been a recipe for success for us for sure.
Yeah. So dope. Yeah. What kind of areas are you guys looking? Do you do any post rut hunting? Because I know in the region you're in, man, you can hunt there till December 5th, I believe. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, our season's December 10th when rifle closes. And then in region 3 anyways, and then it's pretty much done. I don't do a lot. We're ice fishing fanatics too. So as soon as that hard water, it's usually perfect timing. So it's usually the tent hits, and then we're the gun's in the case, and the ice tent comes out, and we're on the ice. So
it's too bad Pete couldn't make it tonight. He's an ice fish junkie too. So
no, it's fun.
Yeah, no, he says it's a lot of fun. He's still looking for his moose, but he's been sending me some pictures of some mule deer he's got on his camera. So he's getting the mule deer bug. Yeah,
that'll happen. Yeah, we've got a few moose draws in November, and we've been successful, but you don't put quite the time in knowing that it's the rut, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the rut's the big one, and I was just out last weekend too, and this time, we had some good weather. It was cold in the morning. And we were starting to see, the bucks sizing each other up, just the smaller ones. We didn't see any, the higher caliber bucks yet, but I mean, they're out there. But again, we weren't targeting the high stuff, but it's only a matter of time till those ones come down a little bit anyway, where you can get to them, or they come down. Once in a while you see that. Once in a while you'll see one of them make an appearance, and you're like, whoa, where's that guy? Where did he come from?
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it too, is every area is different. So like this new area we're hunting, we kind of stumbled upon it, and we're lucky. The deer are there, they hang out there. We got them on camera year round. But we've never had this before. Like a lot of the other areas we hunt, we got a September spot, and the deer, they vanish. Like it's like without even snow, they just leave, and I don't know why. But a lot of these high spots, they move down, and they're just transitional, right? And then we have the lower spots where we can go find them. So when you're scouting and hunting these areas, you kind of do. It's nice to know, to be in there year round, just to see what the deer are doing, just to know their habits and when they're going to be there. And if you can find sheds in there and think they're going to be there, and they're not, they don't show up till December or January. We got some areas where they come late. So you find sheds, but they're just not there in the rut. I don't know where they are, still up high and mid range or whatever, but.
Yeah, that's one thing too I found with shed hunting. It used to frustrate me. Like I never did a lot of it, but you find sheds in area, like, okay, like there's going to be, this is where I'm going to throw some trail cameras up, and this is where I'm going to come mule deer hunting, and like you never see them.
Yeah, like where are they?
Where are they? And then you start to figure them out, and you're like, okay, well, obviously they're not here. They're just coming through. Like maybe they're obviously doing their rutting, and then they're moving through after. And then, in the spring, they're kind of transitioning into some, most likely going up high, and then kind of repeating that cycle.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, I found some pretty fantastic sheds, but it's like, wow. Yeah. And in the same thing every year, you kind of go in there, and, I take the kids in there once in a while now, and just because I know there's going to be sheds in there, but I don't do a lot of it. I kind of save my days for hunting days and scouting days when it gets a little closer.
Yeah, well, I know my work life's been busier this last couple of years, so not quite as much time as I used to, because I used to just be a fanatic out there for sheds. It's pretty exciting when you stumble upon a good shed out there. It's like like Easter, like you're looking for an Easter egg, right? Just
man.
So see its time sticking out of the grass. So
it's pretty incredible too. You find some of those, and you're like, man, the chances of actually stumbling across a shed is it's pretty, especially in BC, because BC is not like, you look at the guys that go shedding in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and even like down in some of the states there, it's a lot different topography than BC. I mean, it's just BC just gets thick, like it's thick and nasty, and it's really tough, especially like you get up in the higher elevation. Yeah, for sure. You got kids.
Yep. Yeah, so I got two daughters that hunt, and they're just above 18 now. So that first 10 days, you said, for bow hunting there for you, oh man, we've had some fun youth hunts. It's been 10 years strong almost that we've had a youth hunt, and we look forward to it every year. It's a blast. If anyone has kids that's listening, man, it is just, it's so rewarding, to get and same thing, to do the scouting and have an area going, okay, we're seeing all kinds of bucks all summer. We go there the first weekend, and there they are, right? Yeah. And then I got my girls passing up, little bucks wanting to get bigger bucks like dad, and then sometimes getting skunked the rest of the season because they let a few go, and then they don't end up getting one. But
yeah, well, that's good though, because they got to understand that's all part of it too, man. That's one thing about chasing big bucks, is you have to be prepared to eat your tag.
Yeah.
You gotta, I mean, you put enough time in, but unfortunately, the rut doesn't last forever, so it's very limited. And then when you get into this time of the year, you're limited on access, because man, you can get a freak snowstorm.
Yeah.
Fog a lot, depending on what elevation you're hunting at. You're dealing with fog. There's a lot to it. So yeah, man, you definitely got to be prepared to eat a tag, and it sucks. It's tough. That's one thing I definitely noticed hunting down a little lower. My success rate went up, but the quality went down a bit. Not getting those big crankers that you're getting.
Yeah. Well, and I've been pretty lucky. I'm going 20, I think it's 25 years, and I've never I've never had to eat in a tag. I've always shot a buck. So
That's
I
good, man.
kind of
That's a
keep
good
the
record,
streak
man. That's a
going.
good track record.
But then again, I've shot some younger bucks that I wouldn't have shot on opening day. So, it's not that I'm shooting it to keep my streak going. I just, you're middle November and you have the right moment, the right experience, and you're feeling it, right? And then it's, you take a buck down. But
yeah, do you find you like that later season you're still seeing the quality that you're seeing, peak rut?
Yeah, I think I have it figured out. So I like the first week. I was really enjoying that first week in November. I find the deer are out moving more. The pre-rut, I call it, right? They're looking for does. We were just seeing so many bucks, and then it kind of switched. We weren't having as much luck early season, and then we started going kind of that Remembrance Day weekend, going into the 20th, and that's kind of been, which I think is probably the peak rut. And we've been having lots of luck doing that. Yeah, some years are different. Some areas are different. I know sometimes you take a whole week off and then it just doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just it'd be nice if it was, a specific date on the calendar where it's like, oh, that's the time to go. That's when I'm going to be there. But yeah, I've definitely found more success, like just seeing more bucks, not necessarily bigger bucks, but just seeing more bucks, more buck activity right before the rut. Like they're picking up on their scent. And we used to be heavy into, end of October, very early November that you'd start seeing that, but it seems to have been transitioning now to a little bit later. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think it's weather related myself. I know the rut's not related to weather, but I find it's been warmer, and I think just the cold weather just gets the deer moving, right? So, you get that -15, it just all the deer, when the does, the bucks. And so as soon as that cold hits, it just seems like you get a cold day where it's -20 and everyone's hunkered inside, and I'm throwing on the jacket going, I'm getting out there because I know what I'm about to experience, right? They're going to be up there, going to be moving all day long. So,
yeah. And those are the days when it's best to hunt. Like you said, I know. And there's a lot less guys out when as soon as the temperatures hit anything below zero, you're going to see a lot less guys, even, a little bit of snow where guys, they just don't want to deal with getting stuck and getting cold and being wet and being miserable. But man, that's some of the best hunting you're ever going to have for mule deer.
Yeah, especially in the boots. So that's the other thing is a lot of guys will get out and crank the heater on and cruise, which is fun too. But those are the days where there's not a lot of guys getting out, and those are the days where you can get off that main road and no one else is pushing timbers or hiking into a big block somewhere or something, and they usually do pretty good. So.
Yeah. So when you're pushing this bush, you're just doing still hunting, moving slow, looking for scrapes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a mover. Like I can't sit in a tree stand or blind. I've tried. I got an hour max, and I'm a pretty impatient guy. My brain starts going and playing tricks on me and what's over the next ridge. And so I like to move all day, kind of thing. I move pretty slow, but I move constantly, just constantly moving in glass and even in the timbers. Picking the trees apart, looking for a face looking at you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't had too much luck killing a buck in the timber. I do a lot of timber hunting and see deer, but it usually ends up happening somewhere out in the open, or I'll catch a buck on a knoll somewhere where there is a clearing, and that's usually where it ends up happening. But
right, you ever do any rattling for mule deer?
Not in a long time. We used to do a lot of rattling in October, and we were actually really successful with it.
Really, yeah.
Never killed anything big though. So if this new area we're hunting, we're not having any luck, I'm gonna try it this week coming up. I'm gonna get in that thick stuff where I know he's living, and I'm just gonna see if he'll make an appearance. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. And in the past too, we've had success too when there's a lot of snow, just walking the roads, looking for where those deer are crossing, and then just following fresh tracks, just going really slow. Eventually you're going to come across, a rub or something on a tree where, that mule deer is just making his mark. And even just like rubbing trees in the bush too. We've had bucks come, check it out. They're just curious. Like you get into that thick stuff where, nobody wants to go. They're definitely skittish, but at that time of the year when the rut's on and they're thinking about, they're only thinking about one thing. They're definitely tend to be a little bit more curious, and you can definitely catch them off guard.
Absolutely. And we've actually had good luck with a doe bleat, getting does to come in, and then the bucks follow does. Yeah. So we got one called the Mule Deer. You can't buy it anymore. We can't find it anywhere. But we got one left. So my one partner's got it. He won't share it. But we've called deer, a kilometer across a gorge. He'll let a few things go, and they come running like the does do. And then the bucks of course follow suit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
A bit of a backwards tactic where you're not calling the buck, you're calling the does. But if there's a buck with them, he's following, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I know guys tried that tactic for whitetail and it works. So I mean, I've never tried it myself, but I mean, if it works for one, why wouldn't it work for the other? But that's a good point. And it comes down to hunting this time of the year. It's kind of the same thing, man. You find the does, you find the bucks, and if you're seeing lots of does, lots of, just kind of watch them too. Like watch what they're doing. There might be some that are going up high. If they're taking off, you're sitting there watching them and they're taking off high first, then it might be worth investigating something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, did your kids get anything this year?
Nothing yet. No, I think I'm going to bring my daughter out tomorrow. She's got a day off of work. So I'm going to,
Nice.
she got last year. She wanted to go out in the rut and chase the snow. And our first year we got one. She's got some pretty good horseshoes. I mean, when me and her go out, something usually happens. So, so I'm hoping tomorrow something might happen, but.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah. My oldest is 11. So this is his second year hunting.
Yeah. Right on.
So
Awesome.
we hunted hard last year for mule deer. He ended up getting one on the 9th, I think.
Yeah. Right on. Awesome.
So it was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. So, and this year he got one early. He was actually tagged out like by September 10th. But
awesome.
he gets those early. He's a youth, so he gets the youth draws, right? So and for him, he's happy. He got his first whitetail, a 2x2, and he got his second mule deer, which was still in velvet.
Yeah, nice.
Which I was like, I've yet to get a velvet mule deer, and now him and I are looking for a few different things in mule deer. So I mean, he's shooting a 2-point. I'm definitely not looking for a 2-point in velvet, but man, it's a lot of fun to get the kids out though.
It is. It's so much fun. It's rewarding, and then they're so excited, and and it's fun. It's fun hunting. It's nice weather. The bugs have just disappeared, and it's depending on where you are, the temperature's getting a bit cooler if you get high enough. But where we are, it's still pretty hot during the day. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you guys going to be just same thing, targeting in the higher areas, high elevation.
Yeah. I think I got a spot tomorrow where I want to go glass. I've seen some deer over the last few weeks, so probably go in there and just spend the day glassing, and hopefully see some on the opposing ridge, and then make a plan. And it's always fun when you can see something before and make a plan and go after it, right? So
yeah, that's the best. I mean, stock and stock is by far the funnest. Is the most for myself, anyways. The pinnacle.
Well, no pressure, right? You don't have that high pressure where when something happens really fast, you got to make a decision fast, and the blood's going, and it's it's still exciting. That's still a rush, but when you can just take a second and kind of make a plan and take your time, it's fun.
Yeah, and I find my success rate definitely is a lot higher for when you're doing hunts like that, because you can be cool and composed. I mean, like just driving down the road and a big buck hops out, you're like good luck.
Yeah, No, we got stories of coffee cups flying out the window and bags falling out and gun cases hitting the dirt and just stuff everywhere. Just get out, right?
Yeah.
And then usually it doesn't happen. Usually the deer's looking at you guys like you're crazy, and then by the time you get out, takes 3 steps and he's gone. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, those are the places where you can see when it across the ridge line, and you have time too. I mean, that's I mean, this time of the year, they're definitely more active all day than they are. But I mean, if you're hunting them early on in the season, if you see one, if you're glassing across a hillside and you see him, he's going to be laid down. He's not going to go far throughout the day. It's just too hot. So I mean, you can definitely make a plan to target him, and it's it's tons of fun. But it's going to be good. I hope you guys get some toad this year. It should be a lot of fun hunting the run.
We saw one last week. We went for a little scout of our area, a little pre-scout, and my buddy went for a walk, and he caught one of our bucks. He saw him for about 30 seconds. Yeah, and he went after him in the timbers, and he could see him moving through the trees, and then a little 3x2 walked out and busted the whole thing out, and that was it. He lost his chance at him, but he saw him. So that was the first time we've seen one of these, mature bucks that we've had on camera in person. So he's there, and he was there last week. So
yeah, no, how long, like, do you find right now that the smaller bucks are still tagging along with the bigger bucks, or they're booting them up?
It's weird. I think it definitely changes area to area, but we do notice bucks together this time of year, and I don't know why that is. It's strange. Usually early October they're scrapping and they're kind of splitting up, right? But
Yeah, we noticed that too. We were out last weekend and we noticed a lot of that, like where there's bigger bucks and then the small ones were just tagging along, and then they kind of play around and spar a little bit. I don't know if it's confidence booster for the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. They're always winning.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they can kick the shit out of one thing. So
that's right.
Cool, dude. Well, thanks for hopping on the show, man. It's been
it's
fun chatting about Mule Deer.
Absolutely.
Best
always
of luck in the season.
Deer, so. Yeah, you too. Good luck out there.
Yeah. Where can people follow you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Muley Crazy. It's MULIE Crazy IE, and yeah, it's always fun. I've really enjoyed Instagram. It's pretty fun place just to see like-minded people and post pictures, and sure it gets you pumped when you see guys posting big bucks. It gets you more pumped, and it's I think it's important.
It's kind of a double. It's definitely a double-edged sword. Social media. It's great, and it's like fuck, man. Like you gotta
watch what you're posting for sure. You
gotta watch what you're posting, but and balance too, man. You gotta have some time for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
Absolutely.
It's been it's been a slice. Yeah. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
A life that has the stories to back it. A life to be proud of. It's a Winchester life.
Yeah, baby. 6'8" Western. Oh, Mule Deer, baby, right there.
Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV.